Vamos a tratar de hablar lo más que podamos acerca de lo que está en la agenda en el tiempo que tenemos, porque nos tenemos algunos que ir a las 11, pero lo que quede para discutir, los que gusten pueden seguir aquí con Dorothy, con la abogada.
So I'm not sure if you'll have to really speak up, I think, for this part until Nathan, maybe we should just get a personal microphone. He's getting a yes, we're doing that, and he's getting a wireless. Okay, wonderful. But for now, we wanted to start with just kind of why we're having this gathering, why we're having this meeting. I'd like to turn it over to Dorothy and Herb about kind of where this all came from.
Vamos a hablar entonces acerca de por qué estamos teniendo esta reunión. Y Dorothy y el señor Ryan nos van a explicar un poco.
I normally never care if you have to consider the entire congregation part of the better church because we all care for it.
Considero, voy a hablar como ella está hablando, considero que yo soy la encargada de cuidar a los miembros, pero considero que toda la congregación somos parte de ese equipo, porque todos debemos estar encargados de cuidando, siendo por los.
One thing we have experienced in our own personal lives, family and close friends, and also thank our members that not everyone has talked about death in the family. And one of the best gifts we can give to our family, our loved ones, is that we plan ahead what we want done when we die. And how we want to be treated, how much care we want before we die. And in fact, do we want to be cremated or not? Where do we want to be buried? And those things are sometimes hard to talk about.
Una de las cosas, uno de los regalos más importantes que le podemos dar a nuestra familia es el haber planeado desde antes qué queremos, dónde queremos que nos cremen, o que nos ejecuten, y qué servicios de adoración quisiéramos, específicamente eso, qué es lo que quisiéramos, o también cuánto cuidado queremos o no que se nos dé cuando se refiere a servicios médicos, qué queremos que no queremos.
They did not discuss where to be buried or if to be cremated or not. And family, in this case, was our son's mother-in-law, died younger than we are, and suddenly, and they were just at a loss. They didn't know if she might be cremated or not, or they had no clue where to be buried. And it's a horrible thing to deal with, and death suddenly and not at those decisions made.
Una experiencia reciente que tuvimos respecto a que la gente no planea y no habla con su familia acerca de lo que quisieran fue con con la suegra de mi hijo, que es más joven que ellos, y sin embargo se murió repentinamente y fue muy difícil para ellos, muy terrible después de que están sufriendo por la muerte, tener que estar tratando de asegurar qué sería lo que ella quisiera, si quería que las hermanas, si quería que las escucharan.
Dorothy, you have a microphone now.
Leading up to that, when our health is declining, it's nice for the family to know ahead of time how much care you want. Do you want to live on a ventilator? What are your desires? And those things need to be writing somewhere ahead of time.
Entonces, una de las cosas muy importantes también es saber cuánto cuidado quieres tú si te enfermas de alguna enfermedad muy grave. ¿Quieres vivir con un ventilador o no? documentar y tener las citas en un lugar.
Another thing to consider is what do you want to have happen to your belongings, to your estate? If you do nothing, we'll talk about that. It's not a good choice if you do not have anything taken care of. But to make choices, what is important to you in your life? What do you want to have? Where do you want your money to go? Do you have to the church, to whatever you might have that is important to you? Think about that and have that in mind as well.
También muy importante es haber documentado qué quiere que se haga con su dinero, que tiene dinero. Pero aunque uno no tenga dinero, a veces la familia, bueno, yo estoy esa parte de lo que a veces la familia se anda peleando por una cadenita. Yo he mirado que se andan peleando por la cadenita de mi mamá, yo la quería. Entonces, todo esto se tiene que documentar. Y si no tenemos una documentado, escrito apropiadamente, qué queremos que se haga con nuestras cosas, esa no es una buena decisión y el abogado nos va a hablar acerca de esto en un momento.
I've heard give an example.
I'm going to say, Steve, that another example we recently had was a good friend of ours back in Kansas. I'm going to make a trip back there. He was a bachelor farmer, very successful farmer, farmed for all, since he got out of high school, he was in his 80s. And he passed and he had a place, his sister was living with him, and she had passed before him, so the burial was no problem, but he had made no plan for his estate. And his estate had to go through probate. It took over 2 years. He had a very large estate, well over $2 million. Successful farmer, and they had to spend much time and money finding relatives that were so far removed that they didn't even know this man existed. And a judge sat down and said, this is what his legacy is going to be, to go give this amount of money to these people. And he made some arrangements, had a trust, he made a legacy that lived on for a long time. And I was just very sorry that we didn't mention to him at the time, Earl, you need to do something. And now it was too late. I think you can trust for good, you at least have a will and make sure that a trusted relative or a friend knows where it's at.
Entonces, nos platica el señor Burr que también una experiencia que tuvieron recientemente es de un amigo de él que desde que se graduó de la high school trabajó en su propia granja, así que su capital que tenía era como de $2 millones, pero no tenía un testamento. Así que y nada más tenía una hermana que ya se había muerto, así que cuando se murió, duraron mucho para el gobierno agarró el dinero y lo tenían ahí mientras que se decidían qué se iba a hacer con el dinero y tuvieron que gastar mucho dinero, mucho tiempo, unos familiares muy lejanos para que al fin con ellos se quedara el dinero, pero si él hubiese planeado desde antes, hubiera podido dejar un legado a donde él quería que se fuera el dinero.
Legacy. Well, we want to make sure that you have in your possession, or at least you have access to what is called the 5 wishes.
Queremos estar seguros de que tengan en su posesión este documento o que tienen acceso a uno como este, lo pueden encontrar en internet, a este documento que se llama los 5 deseos.
We at the church do not make medical or legal decisions for you.
Nosotros aquí en la iglesia no decidimos decisiones médicas o financieras por ustedes.
You may have received something like this
from your medical provider. They do need to have this on hand. What are your wishes? Do you wish to be resuscitated if you have a heart attack? Do you wish to be intubated if you need that? What are your wishes? How comfortable do you want to be? So those medical, legal things are for you to talk about with family, medical provider, and your legal help.
Entonces, por esa razón, deben de tener un documento como este ahí en su paquete. Este documento se tiene que llenar y ustedes ahí pueden nombrar a una persona que quieren que tome decisiones por ustedes si llegan a estar en una enfermedad que ustedes no puedan hacerlo por sí mismos. Y entonces aquí pueden poner si quiero ser resucitado o no quiero, si quiero estar en ventilador con respiración o no quiero. Y entonces ese documento, una vez que lo llenan, lo tienen que guardar, dárselo a una persona que confía mucho en ella para que lo guarde y sepa dónde está, si es que es necesario. Lo mismo que dijo Dorothy hace rato, lo mismo que pues el otro documento, el de los deseos para funerarios.
There is one exception. We will take a copy. If you choose to be DNR, DNI, do not resuscitate, do not intubate. Am I right here, Sharon? Okay. If you choose to have that, we will take a copy at church so that if you were to have a heart attack or massive, something like that, when we call the ambulance, we would produce that note and they would not give you, they would not use the AED or whatever it is on you. So if you have that decision, this is a legal decision that we did not make for you, we will keep a copy of that at the church to prove to the paramedics that that is your choice.
La única razón por la cual nosotros hay una excepción en la cual sí quisiéramos tener este documento que la iglesia ha entubado, y eso sería si ustedes deciden que no quieren ser entubados y que no quieren ser resucitados, porque entonces si algo les pasa aquí en la iglesia, nos pasa aquí en la iglesia, entonces necesitamos el documento para enseñárselo a los paramédicos que si no lo resuciten, no la resuciten porque no quieren, no les
Or you have it in your personal wallet, and then we would have permission to go in and show that to them. That has happened. We have a person, our organist has showed me her document. Should she have a heart attack here, she wants me to produce that before, when I call 911. I will call 911 no matter what.
Tenemos, por ejemplo, la persona, nuestra organista, ella ustedes también pueden tener ese documento en su bolsa y decirnos que ahí lo traen. Entonces, ella, por ejemplo, la organista ha decidido, no sé, que ella una decisión respecto a esto, y ella le dio permiso a la pastora Carla, que si algo le sucede en la iglesia, pues la pastora Carla puede ir a su bolsa y encontrar el documento para que se lo enseñe a los paramédicos.
So this is for your information, so you have something. This can be attached to a will or a trust, okay? And it is the person you want to make the decisions for you, okay? Make sure they know it. What kind of medical treatment you want or do not want, how comfortable you want to be, how I want people to treat me, and what I want my loved ones to know. Good questions.
Entonces, este documento es para que ustedes lo tengan, para que sea una guía para ustedes. También puede ser adherido a su testamento o living trust, no sé cómo se dice.
Testamento.
O a su fideicomiso. Entonces, puede ser adherido a estos documentos y entonces este será la guía para cuál persona deseo designar para que tome decisiones en mi nombre cuando yo no lo pueda hacer, el tipo de tratamiento médico que deseo o no deseo recibir, el grado de comunidad que deseo tener, el trato que deseo recibir de la gente y lo que deseo que mis seres queridos tengan.
If you do not have a trust or a will, we will ask around, maybe people have resources. We can always have someone come and speak to us here about setting up a trust or a will. Of course, there's a cost involved. But we can do that if you don't have one, because we want you to have some control over the situation. We want you to be honored in what happens to you after your passing.
Si alguien no tiene testamento o el fideicomiso y gustan, nos pueden decir, y si ustedes gustan, podemos traer una persona que nos guíe a este respecto. Hay un costo, por supuesto, no sé cuál es, pero esto es bueno para que entonces los deseos que tú tienes sean respetados en el caso necesario.
I'd like to move on to part 4, number 4 of our agenda today. We are all going to die. It's going to happen, unless you are immaculately assumed into heaven. I don't expect that for myself. If you, for your personal well-being, if you want to meet with a pastor, to talk, to pray, to receive forgiveness in what's called individual confession, we will do that. That is why we're here. We want you to be right with God. So if you need that, please make an appointment with myself, with Pastor Alicia, either one, fine. And we will meet with you, pray with you, and go through the litany of individual confession and forgiveness.
Si alguien necesita o gusta tener sentirse que está bien con Dios, entonces hay algo que se llama confesión personal. Y la pastora Carla y yo estamos siempre listas dispuestas para hacer esto si alguien lo necesita. Y si ustedes gustan, solamente tienen que hacer una cita con ella o conmigo, cualquiera de los dos está bien. Y entonces podemos hacer la confesión personal y leer la que se llama letanía de confesión personal. Es una guía bonita para confesión y perdón, para que lo más importante es que para nosotros aquí, para los pastores, para mí, es que ustedes se sientan bien con Dios, que están bien con Dios.
So I'm going to move on to part number 5 now, which is the handout that you received in English or Spanish.
Entonces, el número 5 de nuestra agenda es este documento que recibieron, ya sea en inglés o en español. Si no lo tienen, díganme, y aquí se los pasamos. Es la guía para funeral cristiano.
So Dorothy and I, and members of Member Care, worked really hard on this. We got it from another Lutheran church and condensed it to what we thought was helpful to us.
Entonces, Dorothy y la pastora Carla trabajaron mucho en esto, obtuvieron este documento de otra iglesia luterana y después lo condensaron para que fuera bueno para nosotros.
So let's read over the first part of it, just because we want to reiterate the most important parts. Your name would be at the top of it. When you see, it is important that your next of kin or another trusted person is aware of your wishes, and that is not Pastor Alicia or myself. We can't take that legal responsibility of being your decision maker.
Entonces, vamos a empezar a mirar este documento. Lo primerito, por supuesto, es su nombre y luego enseguida quién ustedes quieren que sea encargado, encargada de hacer estos decisiones para ustedes. No puede ser la pastora o yo, porque nosotros no podemos tomar esa responsabilidad financiera.
So again, you can get the 5 wishes, you can get it from your medical provider, we can download this. In English, it says sample, in Spanish, it doesn't. So, yeah, but we can find that for you, and you can attach that to your will or trust. And also, whatever you have on here, if you have an arrangement with a funeral home already, they should have a copy of this completed form.
Entonces, la primera parte ya se me olvidó, pero la segunda es que si ustedes ya han decidido acerca de sus deseos, lo pueden escribir todo eso aquí. Y si tienen, acaso ya tienen un lugar donde ya tienen arreglado para su funeral, ellos deben tener copia de este documento.
I wouldn't mind having a copy of this, as long as we are not the only ones with a copy. and that you know that your next of kin will make decisions about your funeral, that if whoever you've appointed to be your next of kin makes decisions beyond us, so we go with whoever that voice is, we don't have a choice.
Entonces, nosotros podemos tener una copia de este documento de ustedes aquí, pero necesitamos que alguien más aparte tenga también una copia y que esté muy claro quién es esa persona, porque en ese momento nosotros no, aunque tengamos esto, no podemos decidir quién es la persona que va a decidir, es la que está escrita el nombre aquí, y nosotros tenemos que obedecer por eso.
So number one, have a person. Number two, let them know where to find your 5 wishes, this paper, your will and your trust, other important documents. Make sure they know your wishes and plans for your funeral or memorial. Make sure they know your wishes and where and how you would like to be buried. And make sure they know your attorney's name and contact information if that is applicable.
Entonces, lo más importante es tener a alguien que nombrado para que tenga este documento para guardado para ustedes, que ustedes sepan y esa persona sepa dónde está. Sobre el proceso de la ubicación de los 5 deseos, de sus fideicomisos, de su testamento y otros documentos importantes. Que tengan sus deseos y planes para su funeral, su memorial, sus deseos y dónde y cómo les gustaría ser sepultado, y el nombre de su abogado y la información de contacto si es que tienen un abogado.
Notice that we don't want that information on the sheets because that is legal, medical information, and that should be with your next of kin, your appointed person.
Fíjense como aquí no estamos pidiendo la información respecto a sus deseos cuando se refiere a lo financiero, tampoco de decisiones médicas, porque esto es solamente para que la persona que ustedes nombraron lo tenga y decida.
Well, you can all read, so we'll just go through this together. Take a few moments and write down what Bible passages or what biblical theme you would like. I'll just say Jean Meyer, her family, Jean Myers, and the theme was Holy Spirit. That's what they gave to me. It's like, well, these are the Bible passages, but the theme would be Holy Spirit. They didn't even know we had this because I didn't use this yet. So either biblical choices, and there are some attached to the list if you like that, or a theme. What hymns or songs do you want? And as long as they are not opposed to Christian worship, then we can probably incorporate them in some way. We do prefer to have Christian songs. Do you have a soloist in mind? If so, who and what would you like them to sing? And any other specific wishes for your funeral service?
Entonces, vamos a mirar un rapidito las opciones que están aquí. La elección de sus lecturas bíblicas que ustedes quisieran o el tema. Recientemente una persona que todavía no tiene este documento eligió que ese tema fuera el Espíritu Santo, entonces fue acerca de eso. Pero entonces, si quieren unas ideas de las lecturas bíblicas que pudieran ser, la última hoja tiene unas opciones. También entonces decidir qué himnos o qué canciones les gustaría, aun si son canciones que no son de la iglesia, pero que no estén en contra de todo lo cristiano. Entonces tal vez podamos hacer tal vez podamos arreglar para que sí se canten esas canciones, ¿verdad? También si acaso quieren que sea una persona sola, un solista quien cante, también lo escriben aquí para ver si primero se puede conseguir eso. Cualquier otro deseo específico.
We're going to skip over the memorial suggestions. That will be Dick Bowman in a moment. But the last part of here is write your story. Write your story. Take time to write down your information. Where, who, when, what was important to you. And please note too the very last paragraph. It would be wonderful to hear what your Christian faith means to you and how God has helped you during your lifetime. Let that ultimately be your legacy. So as you prepare this, make sure you pay attention to that last paragraph.
Entonces, vamos a dejar estas sugerencias conmemorativas para que el abogado les explique un poco más, pero sí es muy importante que escriban su historia y también, sobre todo, que mencionen cómo Dios ha intervenido en su vida, porque al último esta es cómo Dios ha sido, que ha sido Dios en la vida de ustedes y cómo ha intervenido, porque al último este es el legado más importante que queremos dejar acerca de cómo Dios ha intervenido, actuado en nuestra vida.
Thank you. Well, first, I certainly think that everyone did a great job on the 5 wishes and explaining all of that, and I trust that's all helpful information for you. As you know, this week I had a situation, of course, where I had to say goodbye to my mom as she graduated to heaven. And so I'm a little bit ragged today, so please bear with me on that. But
We didn't make you do this, he offered.
I was, of course, very fortunate, not only to have a wonderful mom, but also she did prepare very, very well. The things that have been discussed already, while not perhaps done in as formal and complete a process as this, were done so that I knew what, where we stood on things and what needed to be done. And I will tell you that makes it much easier, less stressful, and I'm very grateful for that. And I had a situation with my mom wanted to pass away, leave this world in her own bedroom, in her own bed, and all that fortunately was able to happen. And so, so I was very happy about that. As we talk about these end of the life things, of course, talk louder.
Pues, como ustedes saben, dice el abogado, tuve una situación difícil esta semana. Mi mamá se graduó de este mundo y se fue al cielo, y yo estoy muy agradecido de que ella tenía todo planeado. Eso lo hizo más fácil para mí. También ella quería, uno de sus deseos era morir en su propia recámara, y eso fue posible, gracias a Dios. Entonces, esto facilitó mucho todo lo que ahora tiene que hacer.
Okay. And of course, related to all of this is we talk about planning and making things clear to your loved ones. That certainly is also the case and related to planning for your earthly possessions and what you wish to have done with those. And of course, Herb had given some real good examples of situations where there was not any planning. And as was mentioned, if that's the case, it can be very much a disaster, especially if you don't have either a living trust or a will. And so, in my situation, my mom, she planned a living trust. And so they had specified things in there. And then, of course, we all want to remember our spouse, if we still have one. But in my mom's case, of course, her husband, my dad, had already passed many years ago. And you want to also take into consideration your kids, as we all want to, and perhaps grandchildren, but also other things that are important to you. And for my mom, she has put in there a provision for St. Mark's. And I think that is an enormously good investment for this wonderful church family we have, so that we can thrive and minister for many, many years in the future. As with my living trust, I also have St. Mark's remembered, and would certainly encourage all of you to consider that. Of course, we want to provide for our children and things But if you talk to them, I think they will surely agree that the other important causes in your life, such as St. Mark's, are also very wonderful and good investments and can be done in a very balanced way. And I did want to say, as you are looking at contemplating things like that, I am retired as an attorney. However, I'm most helpful to answer any questions you have, to help guide you with maybe some changes that you are contemplating, and can do that in a very cost-effective manner with no charges whatsoever by me. I would be happy to help because you are all family, you are all friends. If we have a situation where there's no living trust, no will, that's a little bit more involved. You would certainly need to partner with someone who could handle that more completely. But I will be happy to help in any way that I can. I find that, God is alive.
Lawyer.
En el caso de él y su mamá, pues la señora Mirna tenía todo bien planeado, inclusive el aspecto financiero, tenía un fideicomiso, entonces todo fue fácil más fácil para ellos en ese aspecto, en el aspecto financiero. Pero oímos el ejemplo, por ejemplo, que nos dijo el señor Burke, de qué desastroso puede ser cuando no tenemos estas provisiones listas. Entonces, una cosa que es importante para si estamos planeando es ver a quién, si tenemos algo, a quién se lo queremos dejar, y tal vez incluir a nuestra iglesia, como la señora Mirna, la mamá de él, incluyó a nuestra iglesia, y él también tiene su fideicomiso y también tiene que incluir a nuestra iglesia para que una parte de lo que él tiene se vaya para la iglesia, y esa es una de las mejores inversiones, porque puede durar para siempre y asiste a nuestra iglesia a poder seguir adelante con todo lo que estamos haciendo aquí. Y puesto que somos una familia, entonces esto es bueno para todos nosotros, para poder continuar con nuestra misión. Y se me está olvidando algo que es muy importante. Oh, sí. Si no tenemos un testamento o un living o una fideicomiso, él está dispuesto a guiarnos. Él está retirado, es un abogado retirado, pero dice, como somos amigos de familia, yo no les voy a cobrar nada por guiarlo. Si no lo tienen todavía en ninguno de estos documentos, entonces tenemos que encontrar a alguien que lo haga, porque tiene que ser alguien que esté activo, no retirado. Pero él no nos va a cobrar nada por guiarnos, por mirar, escuchar nuestra situación y ver qué es lo que podemos hacer.
So, for all of these things, the wishes and the 5 wishes, and of course the things that I alluded to, all of those things, we all need to plan ahead on. And that really benefits everyone, and especially your family. As Herb gave some examples, I could give a ton of examples. In my case, of course, with Mom, everything is set forth. It's going to take a little time, but it's going to go very smoothly. In contrast, my son-in-law, father, passed away 3 years ago, in last November of 2020. He had a heart attack, he died. He didn't have a living trust. He didn't have a will. At this time, 3 years later, they're still trying to close the thing, going through probate. There's a lien on some, IRS lien on some of the property that he had. It has costed my son-in-law and my daughter thousands of dollars because they've had to go through all of that. So we want to try to avoid that. We want to plan ahead on all of the important decisions that we want to make in life, so that it can be a time of recovery and fond memories for all involved. So obviously, if there's any questions that you do have, I'm happy to be available now or later. And I thank you for this time together and this gathering that we have.
Entonces, todo de lo que ya se habló es muy importante, de tener todo esto listo para que a partir de ese momento. Y también ha visto muchos casos de personas que no estaban preparadas, incluyendo su yerno, y se murió en el 2020 y todavía están tratando de poder arreglar todo esto de todo lo que es capital. Y está tomando todo ese tiempo y mucho dinero aparte. Entonces, lo más mejor es que tengamos todo esto listo en ese caso. Y otra vez se nos dice, si necesitan ayuda, yo puedo guiar. Si alguien tiene preguntas, yo voy a estar en todo.
A question? Linda?
We have a provision in our trust for St. Mark's, but I remember saying that a previous member had included St. Mark's in their trust, but they didn't specify that the whole amount should come to us, and so it didn't. So what do we have to say in there besides the address and the dollar amount, so the money stays with this church?
Please repeat the question.
Yes, okay, so Linda had asked, indicated that in their living trust, they have a provision for St. Mark's, a general provision, and what should be articulated in there so that all of the amount is given specifically to St. Mark's. And part of the answer to that is to accomplish that, you want that to be what's called a designated gift and not an undesignated gift, something that's very general. If you do the latter, it still will certainly fulfill much of God's work. But for example, in that scenario, there'll be a certain percentage that will go to the district synod. You'll have a certain portion that will mandatorily be offered as a tithe, which is still a good thing.
But actually, that's our endowment.
Yes.
Is that, can we talk about the same thing?
Well, yes, so yes, if it was to go to, but I'm thinking if it was going to our endowment, then we of course have that policy. Whereas if you have a designated gift, let's say that you can specify a certain amount of funds that could go for helping with putting in solar panels, so that we're not spending $1,300 a month on electricity bills. Or you could specify to have some specific gift, or you could even have it as a designated gift that's perhaps not that specific, but one that would help with something here at St. Mark's, or perhaps helping with some new activities we have or some buildings that we have. So I can certainly, every situation is a little different. I can help you craft that in a way if you wanted it to be more specific, because I don't know exactly what is reflected right now, but you would basically have a designated gift, not just something in the general fund that would tend to then go towards the legacy committee fund.
Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay, good, okay, and also, is there an interest here, do you think, to have someone come and speak about creating a trust or living will? Do we have an interest here in the church for that? So that those
How many
people-
people have?
How many people have trusts that way? You do that. All right, okay, good to know. All right, thank you very much, I did listen.
And I will say that is a good thing. I saw so many people live in trust. Of course, wills are much, much better than not having anything. But when you have a living trust, you don't have to go through probate, which which takes an average of 9 to 18 months, even if you have a will, and it could be longer. And also with the living trust, it's not public information, it's private information. It's not something that's at the courthouse that is available to public eyes. So there's some real benefits to having a living trust. It's more expensive, but it's better all around, and you will have less expenses later on.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Asked if there were other questions.
We want to offer the information with pre-proof.
Oh,
And then we're Q&A. And you need priority translation? Okay.
Bob Leckner left a minute ago, but he said, before he left, his father, when he did his trust, well, he wanted to let the person who was, the attorney who was doing the trust, know how much money he actually had. So he left out one of his savings accounts. That savings account was over the threshold and put the entire estate into probate. And it ended up costing $7,000 to get access and several years to get access to the estate. So in his fear that someone would know how much money he really had, he made a mistake that cost his family a significant amount of money. And it wasn't able to serve, the trust was not able to serve the way he intended it to. So just a little cautionary tale in case it's not you, but someone else, you know, who might be concerned about those kinds of things. So a couple of years, probably 10 years ago, my friend Chris Flynn and I started doing grief workshops. We have done 4 of them at Calvary Chapel, which is where she was going to church for many years, and she's preparing now one to do with her current church. A couple of years ago, I offered that to Pastor Carla, and we weren't ready for it. But we're looking now at maybe something for spring. What we realize is grieving occurs in many ways and occurs over a long time. And now there are many circumstances. Maybe a change in financial circumstances, maybe a loss of a loved one, it may be a loss of a job, grieving your status in the world, any number of things might cause you to suffer and struggle with grief. So if there's interest in putting on a workshop, it is a Saturday morning workshop, generally finished, we have lunch and generally finishes, I think, about 1. But like from 9 to 1 or 8:30 to 1 on a Saturday morning. But I'm thinking that Chris has volunteered to come, since I've done it several times for her church. She's volunteered to come and help me do a grief workshop for St. Mark's. So if you have interest, let me know and we'll put it on the calendar.
Website for the 5 wishes. Does it have some type of form that you can fill out that answers these questions? Or is it just listed like this, different things you should know?
I haven't gone online. We do have a few of the finished of the 5 wishes.
So I think, Janet, your question was on what there is to fill out as it relates to the 5 wishes. And there is, of course, a form. This is a sample of it. This was first begun about 12 years ago and is basically valid in about 45, 46 states, including California. And it does have in here the questions that were certainly touched on by